Um, okay. I think we're okay to go now. Um, so obviously this is a kind of workshop or tutorial on using latex, and we try to learn latex in 90 minutes, which is actually a little bit ambitious, but we're definitely going to learn lots of things about latex. Uh, okay, and so first, very quickly, I would like to know from you guys, and why do you want to learn latex? Upskill, and say, do you have to say write papers or any other reason? Abstract, yeah. Okay, okay, yes. You want to put some formulas in anywhere, and then some latex. Okay, so these are all very good user cases. I think main reason people use latex is because lots of journals and conferences requires you to submit work in latex, and also when you're writing a final thesis or report, it's usually quite long, and in that case, and Word are gonna struggle a little bit to do that work, and latex usually does a much better job. And okay, uh, okay, so this is the introduction. So actually, latex can get really complex. So we're going to cover a small percentage of the, like, let's say, the entire latex universe. And but I think I picked these things that enough to get you started to write your next document in latex, be it the proposal, report, or paper. Okay, and actually we're going to have a more advanced tutorial this Friday. Will be run by Richard, who will be here in about half an hour. He just emailed me say he's running a bit late. He's gonna be helping today as well. Okay, and also there's also lots of information online. Basically, once you had a concept of latex, how it works, for say and specific questions, most of the time you just Google and you will find answers there. Okay, uh, so this is the outline. So we're starting by covering the concept of, say, a markup language. So might sounds quite abstract or difficult, but it's actually not. And that's the general idea behind the latex and many other languages. And then we're going to introduce a editor called overleaf. So it's an online editor, so you don't have to install anything, and you can create your latex document there. So the way to think of it is like a Google Doc for latex. So you all know Google Doc is like online version of Microsoft Word. So that's own advantages. Okay, and then the rest is about specific part of the paper or report you might come across, and you might want to say, okay, how do I add title, also abstract to my report, and then I want to create chapters. This is probably for the thesis, but definitely gonna have sections, subsections, and want to add some figures. And people some mentioned already, you want to have some math in your report, and these are equations, and then the citations and the references. So we use these two terms, mean slightly different things. So the citations is where you refer to a paper in the main text of your report or paper. So this will be a numbers or author followed by year, etc. And the reference is what appears at the end of the document usually. So these are the details to say you had the full author list, the title, the journal, the years published, even page numbers. So that's the reference. Okay, again, that's a big part of the latex. I'm going to show how to do that. And finally, if you have a bit of time, and we can have a quick look of how to use a conference or journal template. So essentially, this is actually quite common. Is if you want to submit to a journal conference, they will give you the so-called a template, and you have to follow it. And we'll have a look at how to do that as well. Any questions so far? Yeah. Okay. Um. So the next question is: have you done any programming before? And hands up if you have done some programming. Okay, so not all everyone. That's completely okay. So just give me some feeling of okay, how much we need to go into the program background. But and so strictly speaking, LaTeX is almost like a simple programming language, but it's probably one of the simplest one in terms of the complexity. So it would not have say class or different logics like for or if else. Should be quite easy to learn. Before we actually get into the details, just do a quick comparison between the Word and LaTeX. So I'm sure all of you would have used the Word, probably using it by now. And so in terms of Word, it combines the content with formatting. So what that means is you type in your text you want to have in your report, for example, title or just normal text, and then you format the text directly in Word. So you will select the text, change say font or size, etc., color. That's what it means, which is different in the latex. The content and formatting are separate. So you write your text or title just as text, and the formatting will be added somewhere else a little bit later. And in most cases, in Microsoft Word, and the semantics is implicit. Okay, what it means, and you might have first line of text, very big font, say 6 points, centered in the middle, so you know. Hello, coming? Are you?
Hello, is this latex?
Yes. Coming. Yeah. So, for example, if you have something this, and at the beginning of your document, and you probably, as a person, would look at it and know, okay, that's probably the title of the document or report. But the program or the software itself does not always know. It could guess, but could be wrong. And whereas in latex or markup language, you have to explicitly say, okay, that is the title of the entire document. So it knows how to do with it if later on. Okay, and so in terms of advantages for Microsoft Word is this, and I don't know how to pronounce it, but essentially it says what you see is what you get. So you can see the final looks or feelings of your document straight away as you work on it. Whereas in the latex, that's not the case. So essentially, you're writing some code, and you have to run the code, then you can see what your final report or document look like. So there's an extra step. Okay, and in terms of disadvantages, and so for the Word, sometimes it can be difficult to change certain things because and part of this you combine the content with formatting and the semantics implicit. So sometimes it's difficult to change. For example, you want to position certain things or move certain things. Word just would not allow you to do it, and you would not know why. Very common. And similar to this is sometimes you have limited control. Again, is because this implicit is semantics. So, so on the other side, the latex has full control, and because every formatting is write down explicitly, you always have full control, and you can have very fine control as well. You can do exactly what you want. And also, the other thing is that's what I meant. And it's very easy to change the formatting without touching the content at all. For example, if you write one paper for this conference, you get rejected, so I try a different conference, which has a complete different formatting rules. And if you use Word, you have to say reformat the title, change font size, reformat every sections. But in the latex, you don't have to do any of those. You just have to change to a new template, and all the formatting is done completely for you. You don't have to change a single word in the actual document. And yeah, okay. Also, another we already mentioned, say in the latex you have full control because everything has to be write down explicitly, so you have entire control. And we mentioned you have extra step when you run latex. We're going to see very soon, but that also means you have slightly more typing in the text. So you have to type title, and then the latex knows that is title. Whereas in Word, you don't have to type down the title command. Okay, any questions so far? Okay. Okay, so in this tutorial, we're going to use something called overleaf. And in the Friday's tutorial, we're going to look a little bit more about, say, how do you install the latex on your own computer so you can run without going online. And so the reason I picked overleaf is it solves one of the biggest issue actually with latex in terms of usability, and is actually installation and setting up the environment. So if you use Microsoft Word, you can all know, say, just download the file and run the install, and it will work. But LaTeX is slightly more complex than that. You have to download kind of like an SDK or the backend library so you can understand LaTeX documents, and you have to install an editor separately, and you have to link the editor with the library just installed before if they not come together, etc., etc. Okay, and then all these problems goes away in the overleaf because you just open the document. Everything is set up already for you on the server. There's nothing to do. And also it's completely free. I need to check on this, but it's definitely it was free for any public documents. And I can't remember for the private ones in the sense you don't want everyone else on the internet can see your document. That might has to be you have to pay it. But the chance of people finding your document is really, really small. Anyway, so they have to know this very, very weird URL and like very, very long and type it everything correctly. And then another advantage of the overleaf is it allows to do collaborative editing at the same time. So it's just like Google Doc, multiple people can look at the same document or see the same document, but they can even edit it at the same time. So people can write at the same time, which will not be possible for any, say, local editors. So nowadays, when you write a paper, most likely you have more than one author, at least you and your supervisor, maybe some collaborators from other university or group as well. So use an online editor will save you from, say, have to emailing people different versions, people make comments and email back, you get confused and something mixed up. Okay, and so there is some disadvantages with this online version. So it will be slightly slower than the local LaTeX installation. So essentially, when you display a LaTeX document, what it does is run some code and create a PDF file. That's what it does and get displayed. So for this online version, it's all run on the server, and lots of people will be using the server. Depends on how fast the server is and how many people are using. So it might be a bit slower than, say, if you install on a local computer, you have a powerful one and only you using it, will be a bit faster. But I find it completely usable. We're going to see that very soon. Yep. Uh, so, and also be aware, and so this will be an overleaf server dependent. Basically, that means if the server is down for whatever reason, you will not be able to access it, even though you can always download a local copy, and this happens very rarely and tends to be quite reliable. Okay, let's have a quick look. Let me log out first. Okay, and also this is where the part you can start working on your laptop now. So we ask everyone to bring a laptop, and so this is what it looks like. And if you're just typing overleaf as one word, maybe back to the slides, maybe. Ah, so that's the URL there, and overleaf as one word.com. So that's it. And if you open it up, and it should look like this. So is everyone open? Be able to do that? The next thing is if you don't have account yet, so you probably don't, you would have to register one. So there's a few options. You can and type in your username, password using Google, or if you remember, you can use this ORCID ID, the Open Research ID something. So is everyone be able to do that? Okay, so once you're logged in, you should see something similar to this, but obviously not with as many of these things as I did, because I used that before, so I have these, the so-called projects. And essentially, each of these just like a one paper. So think of this as your folder, and each of what overleaf course a project is just basically one document. So you probably when you logged in, you probably should see an empty list with nothing in there. Yeah. So anyone that can't seeing this page yet, okay, that's all okay then. Uh, so probably the easiest thing to do is probably just and starting a new one. Come to tutorial. Okay. So what you do is just and click this top left corner, and there's a new project button. Can you see here? Yeah. And then if you click, and it should ask you to type in a. Okay, then choose blank project, and they will ask you to type in a title. In this case, I call it latex tutorial demo, and it will give you something like this. Okay. Is this all okay so far? Okay. And so, okay, and so I'll go through the interface roughly quickly. And so first you have two main windows, one on the left and one on the right. The left part, which is this part here, is where you type in this latex command. And on the right hand side, and this part is where the document is going to look like. So we're going to go through what these command means in a minute. But maybe for now, you just need to remember. So most of these commands start with a slash. So if you have a slash and document class, you know it's a command because it starts with a slash. And then the curly bracket after or at the end of a command and means something, a parameter that your settings can change. And you will also see these ones and the squared bracket. Let me make it bigger so it's easier. Okay. Square parameter is square bracket is also parameters, but these are optional. That means you don't have to set it; you'll still be able to run. Whereas these curly bracket, that means you have to. Otherwise, it will not run. It will give you error. Yeah. So you basically the way it will work is typing something on this side. And if it's not automatic, if you press this recompile button, essentially it runs this code and will display what's here. If I say I changed my title and I press recompile, it will run a little bit and shows with the new title. That's basically how it works. And I think there is a setting somewhere say you can do, and for example, you can choose auto compile on or off, and that means every time you make some changes on the left, it will automatically recompile on the right. It can be convenient, but also as the document on the left gets longer, each recompile can takes longer time. So you may not want to say you just change a word and then recompile. Okay. The other things to talk about is this kind of panel on the left. So this is a list of all the files for one document. And so for latex, you can have something called .tex, which stands for latex file. And in this here, we have something called main.tex, which is created for you. And you can have multiple latex files for a document, which we're not going to get into in this tutorial. But the general sense is, for example, if you're writing your thesis, it's very long, like a final PhD thesis, it's going to be 500 pages, and you have many chapters, and each chapter have sections. You don't want to put all 500 pages in one document. You might have, say, one latex file for one chapter, and or maybe even, say, one latex file for a longer section in a chapter. Then you have multiple files. And also on this side, you can have, say, the pictures, for each pictures you want to include in latex file, it has to be saved separately. It's not saved inside the text file itself, because the text file itself is just a text file. It can't dot and txt file. It cannot contain image. So you will need to use these buttons here. If you can see, so this one allows you to create new files, and if you need to say create another one, this is called chapter2.latex, let's say. Okay, and you can create folders. So that's the second button in the top left corner. So for example, sometimes as you get more and more files in one document, for example, you might create an image folder and put all the pictures inside image, for example, make it. So let's just call images. Okay, and so you can see now on the left we have, besides the main text, I have another file called the chapter2.text, which is completely empty and have a folder. And the last button in the top left is upload. That means if there's something you already have, for example, this could be a pictures you want to use, or even the template provided by a conference, which is usually downloaded as zip file or something, you can upload. And then just as any other upload interface, you can select something from your computer. Let me see, do I have any pictures here? I don't even have any pictures. Movies will be a bit bigger. Okay, maybe just create one. Oh no, I can't. Oh, it still works. Anyway, so I don't have a picture here, but otherwise, maybe I can find one quite quickly. This one. Okay. So what I just did is I uploaded the image. Did I go too fast? But this is just the same as upload in many other softwares. And I actually select the image folder first. So you can see now that kind of file is currently saved under image. Okay. And what else? Okay. So for the text editor part, which is the middle part here, and you can see these two buttons here. So we're currently in the source mode. Essentially, you'll see your latex code. And it also has this rich text mode, which I highly recommend not using it. But they still put it there for people, say, who come from Microsoft Word. They might not be used to this kind of typing your own code yet. So it gives you this Microsoft Word type of way. So you can actually type in something, it will actually display the way it formatted to be. But it's highly recommended not to use it. That's defeat the whole purpose of using latex. Okay, so at this here, there's two more buttons next to this. It's also quite useful. The first button actually gives you any message when you try to run the latex code. In this case, it says no errors, good job, which is completely fine. But sometimes because you made some errors in typing latex code, you can actually sit here to see what errors are to help you figure out to fix the code, which can be useful. Yeah, and this button is also quite useful. The one next to this kind of an log, and is a download the PDF. So basically, once you create the file, you want to save a copy on your computer, you can use this. Yes. Before we go back, so you have these buttons here, a bit difficult to see, which allows you to hide different sections. So click this with the hide entire PDF viewing part. And I have to remove this one. And if you click it again, it gives you back. And similar here, you can hide the file directory or file list part. And we've done all these, rename, delete. This is probably last one. Hi, hello.
I'm late, sorry.
Exactly. So this is Richard.
Hello.
He's going to run the Friday session, and if you're interested. So the last part is this menu button on the top left corner, this one here. Then it gives you some of these actions. So it also provides you with this download option. And the PDF is the same as before. We see on the right hand side download button. And the source is actually to download and all these latex files and image files together into a zip file to your local computer. That can be useful sometimes. And copy project creates a new project in overleaf, exact as yours currently wants. And word count is probably useful because many of these journals or conferences have word limit. Then it will count how many words you have. You can sync to these things. Probably not gonna get into too much details, but it says you can actually save your project, for example, in Dropbox as well. So you can online copy somewhere else as well in case you need it. And there's some other options, so we're not gonna get into details here. Maybe the last one. At the bottom it says show hotkeys, which says some things you can do without having to go through the menus. It can make your life a little bit easier once you get to know them. Yeah, that's all. And yeah, I guess that's all I want to talk about overleaf for now. And then we're gonna. Any questions? Yeah.
Can we copy paste this
Copy. Yes, yes. So if you have some text or even latex document, you can just copy paste on this panel. Essentially, it's just a text editor. That's all, like your notepad, and you can just copy anything in there. It will try to and interpret or understand it, run it as latex. That's all. Okay. Let's get back to the actual slides. Okay. So next we're gonna actually talk about how to create these things in LaTeX document, say title, author, abstract, chapters, figures, and equations. And I'm going to follow something called Learn LaTeX in 30 minutes, which is inspiration for my talk title. And it's actually produced or prepared by Overleaf as well. So you don't have a say access to the slides yet, do you? Yeah. And I think the easiest thing would probably just Google and learn latex in 30 minutes, and the page should look something like this. Yeah, do it now. See if you can find the page. Yeah, that should be probably the first one in the Google search results. Yeah, did you all find it? Okay, so we probably don't have time to cover everything there yet. And so we're gonna skip the first part about what is latex, why you need to do, go straight to here. Can you read the text there? Is that big enough? You can see, okay, slightly bigger even. I'm getting old, so I need a bit. Okay, so there's this so-called, what do they call it, the preamble part or something? Yeah. Okay, the preamble part of a document. It's already go a little bit. So this is probably the simplest document you can create, and you need to something called document class, followed by a type of document. So essentially, you can pick, say, article will be, say, journal articles, and there's report. I think I can't remember if there's one for thesis as well. Yeah, thesis as well. So, but then you have, and for a specific, say, conference journal, they might have a different document class, and you can use with the specific file. And then you just do, say, as we said, this is a command because it starts with slash. It says begin and end and followed by document. That means this is the start of my document, and let me, and this is the end of my document. That's all. So everything in between will be your latex document. That's the simplest one you can do. You can try. An article is usually a good type of document to start with. Is this okay? Yeah, give it a go to see. So you should be able to, and in the overleaf itself, we can see it's already set up this for you. Say document. Hey, why do I have this? Okay, it really wanted to show. And document class article is already, so that means it's showing an article. Okay, so this example here, it shows you can actually change a few options or settings for your article and document. So this one, as we said before, the square bracket means these are optional options or settings. So the 12 point sets the font size for your entire document. So it sets the main text font size. And you can use default one, you can change, but it does not affect, say, titles or other things. And the second one is setting the paper size. So because when you display that in the PDF file displayed on the right, it has certain size. When you print it out, the printer will try to match the size. I don't remember what the default is, but say for Americans, they probably want to use letter paper, and for say British or European, probably use A4 or other size. For example, if you want to make a poster, you can set it to A0 or even A1, different ones. This one is optional, something relatively new, and also I didn't use it when I was using latex. And in the sense, what this setting is saying the input encodings. Okay. Anyone knows what input encoding means?
You actually asking?
Yeah. Other students, maybe some of them knows. Yeah. Not quite. So, I mean, you actually do input encoding and use that all the time. For example, if you go to a website which is not English, like say go to a Chinese website, and previously you have to set the encoding to Chinese. Otherwise, all these characters were just shown as word symbols. Have you came across that before? Now it's not like a problem solved now, but essentially it just says, and encoding allows the latex to display these characters properly. That's all it is. So it says an UTF-8, and which is kind of international standard. It allows for more than 1 million different characters. And so basically any language you have, it will be able to display the characters correctly. So, and for example, if we don't set it, I mean, it will only be able to display a set of the English letters with some symbols, which is rather limited. So any other languages, say Arabic or Chinese, or they will not be able to see correctly. Again, so this is the main. I never used that in my paper writing before because mostly I'm writing English, so that wasn't working okay. But it's a good practice to include that. Okay, and then next part we try to add title, author, and date. Really, these are just a few more extra commands that you need to do. So for the title, you just say /title and put the actual title behind in the curly bracket. That's all it is. So if you look at the actual document, so this is my title. It's actually already created for you. I can change it to something random and then click recompile, and it will change the title of my report. Okay, so get back to the concept of the markup document. So it's very important if you use the /title, then latex knows whatever follows is actually title and will be able to format it properly. And for example, to apply the title formatting rules from whatever style you want to choose to use. The rest is actually quite straightforward. So if you want to set who the authors are, just say /author, that's all. Then type the author names in it. And if you have multiple authors, you just type a comma followed by second author. And you can just do, say, let's say I'm the... And, is it? Oh, okay. Sometimes I'm a bit naughty saying, I might just do that. Yeah. Okay, so the proper way is to do and to join multiple authors.
Well, actually, neither of those is working, is it?
Sorry?
Neither of those is working.
Yeah. I don't know why, but maybe because that's the template you're using. If it's the plain latex, maybe it doesn't do anything.
Conferences usually want you to put a hand in there.
Yes.
And they do funny things there.
Mm.
So you do what you're told.
Yeah, when we get to that part. Okay, so that means that's not really that difficult, but this is still programming in a simple way. So you say this is a command, and you have to put in something afterwards. Okay, okay. Thanks is, we're gonna skip this part. Sometimes it's used to show, say, the email address or the institution that people come from. Then you have a date. You can set the date of the report. I believe by default, if you don't type anything, it just automatically uses the current date. So if I say and save, oh, it doesn't do anything. Okay.
If you leave the date command out entirely, it uses
Today.
But you don't have to. You usually don't have to say today. You don't say anything.
Yeah, it used to be the case. Let's try today. Okay.
No, the command is /today.
Okay.
You have to leave the date command out.
Ah, okay. I didn't recompile. Oh, okay. So what I did is now you can see this little thing, which you're probably gonna come across something, and it started to say there's a latex error. So this tells you what the error is, but similar here, I mentioned before this gives the log if you click, and it will say some error there. No
Which
beginning.
is wrong as usual.
Sorry.
What it means is you put a command in that generates text before it's seen begin document. That's what it actually means.
Yeah.
So I told him wrong. So it should be /date brackets /today.
Does this work? Let's try again. Yay! Okay.
Life with latex is like this. Experiment.
Okay. But that's it. I mean, and also, as I said, most of the time, if you just Google latex /date today or something, well, probably the first one will give you the correct example how to write it. Okay. And then so this is the so-called preamble part, something related, not actual document, essentially, but it actually is. But you have to put these. And also, that's the other command we didn't quite explain. Is called use package. So this is for anything that is not the core part of latex, you have to use. So this is setting the input encoding. But for example, later on we will see if you want to just include pictures, you have to use a different package. And almost everything you want to use latex is a package you can include, except it's already included. Okay, so then it does this. So we explained before, say begin documents actually say that's the starting of my document. and then start a document, and it actually usually start with this and says make title. Make title basically just means I'm going to display the title, author, and date. If you set them early, it will get displayed now. So that's almost always needed. And then you can start writing your actual latex document. It's just like a text file. You can type in whatever thing you want. Do you want to give it a try, or you're all okay so far? So if you have created an empty document in overleaf, actually already done these things for you. So it give you the document class, title, author, begin documents, and then make title. They're all done for you. You could type in something. Okay, are we okay? I think we probably have to move on. It's a little bit slow so far. Okay. Very quickly in terms about comments. Again, this is more similar to related to code, and you can use this percentage sign. Can you see the green line text? Everything that's starts with a percentage sign becomes a comment. Comment in the sense when the software or system try to display the latex document, it will ignore that. So you can say add something. I didn't even have anything.
It ignores everything up to and including the new line.
Where's my
including? So the new line isn't there.
First latex. Okay, let's say I add. So I had one line here. It says this is my first latex document, and I've put a percentage sign before. It will be treated as a comment, so it's no longer there. So this is one way. Say if you want to take out something temporarily from a document, you can do this, or you actually want to write a comment in your document that's not going to be displayed in the actual PDF file. Okay, let's do this as well. So, yeah, but let me just follow the tutorial now. It's doing bold, italic, and underline. So these are kind of things, and you need to use different commands. So for bold, you need to.
You should do this.
Huh?
The most important thing to know about LaTeX is that nobody knows it all.
I mentioned that at the beginning.
All you need to know is how to look it up. And that's what you need to know.
Yeah. I probably should have covered that here as well.
Even what it's written there is wrong. What it's written there is wrong because it's context dependent. It's just not true. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, but maybe just as a way to kind of introducing the formatting in LaTeX. So in Microsoft Word, if you want to make something bold, you select the text, right click and choose bold. And in LaTeX, you have to say text BF. Is that bold font or something font face? But just say, remember that's a command. And the actual text inside the curly bracket will become bold. So you will see here you have text BF, and then the greatest followed. Then the greatest becomes bold when it's rendered in the LaTeX. Okay, I'm going to do the same. For example, I want to highlight this is my first, so I will do. Okay, so that's the other nice thing. In LaTeX, if you start typing in overleaf, it will try to guess what LaTeX command you want to use, and you can pick one, save you a little bit of typing. So can you see my example there? So I said text BF and curly bracket and then first. So that means I want my first, the word, to be bold. So if I save now, and it will be compiling, and it's a bit small. So you can see here, and the word first is bold because I did this one here. Yeah. Okay, if you if you can understand that, then say the same way, but the command will be slightly different. If you use italic, you say text IT, stands for italic, and underline, and just underline. You might need some package to do that, but maybe in the latex. Huh? Oh, okay, so it just works. And so in this example, I also add a little bit, I add underline to the latex document, so that's what it looked like. There's other text formatting, you can make it say super subscript and other different formatting, just different command which you can figure out by Googling it. Ah. Okay, this comes to the next part, which is actually about adding pictures. So I'm sure you need some pictures for your papers, reports, or thesis. This could be, say, some diagrams, etc. So in here, it uses a package called Graphic X. So as I mentioned before, to do many of the things, or most of the things, you need to use some package. So in this case, we're going to using Graphics X. Without it, it will not be able to recognize how to add image later on. So we need
What
to add.
packages do is they define commands. So the command include graphics as part of graphics,
That's right.
which I can't pronounce.
And so once you include this in the beginning of a document, then later on you can use this command here, include graphics, to actually include the pictures in your document.
The location of the pictures, how would be the location of the pictures?
Okay, so the location of the pictures will be where you sit. Okay, let's get to the okay. Ideal. So latex will try to put the picture where you put inside the code or the document. So for example, this include graphics command is after this paragraph and before this paragraph, right? So then the latex will try
You're
to
doing
put
paragraphs, and you said you weren't. Paragraphs have black lines above them. That's all.
That's all. Yeah. This is
Paragraphs
different.
just have black lines.
Yeah.
Otherwise, LaTeX ignores white space.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
Can I ask about the location of the file of the image?
Okay.
It must be in the same folder. Or?
That's right.
Usually it's in the same folder, but if you say graphics path twiddle, then it'll put it in twiddle something.
Yeah. Okay.
What it does is it takes the graphics path, sticks it on the name of the front. So that's in images/universe.
Okay. But it sometimes could happen the latex would decide, okay, this is not the right place to put the picture. And it will try to move it somewhere else. And there's commanders which you can kind of enforce it to do or say, not gonna get into details here.
No, it won't. If you use include graphics, it'll put it there. Always.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what that command does. If you want a floating picture, you have to say figure, and that's another whole can of worms.
Okay. Maybe you can just do this very quickly, and usually you would do use package X. Let me just make sure I use exactly correct. Yeah, and then I can include my pictures. Include graphics. I have something in the okay. So slightly smarter. Okay, so can you see I'm using the include graphics command as shown in the tutorial, and as if you remember previously, we put that inside the image directory, not directly. So I need to start with this line. Actually, all you need to do is actually figure out for you where you want to do so that it recognizes image there. So that says inside images directory you have this file, and they're going to include it there. Include that one. Oops. Okay. So it still try to put the picture right under this paragraph. It just says it thinks that picture is too big, and it will not resize by itself. And it thinks it's too big, so it puts it on the next page. And it's still too big, it's go beyond. Let's say, if this is correct. Let me see if it's, oops.
You haven't spelled width.
I couldn't spell, that's right.
Not HT.
Mm. Yay, that's better.
You can also say /scale factor equals.
Mm.
Put a
Okay.
number in and shrink it.
Yeah. And so what I did here is I add say square bracket some options, and I said width equal to something. So you can actually set, say, how many inches or centimeters, but here I use something called /TextWidth. That means the width of the text field. But you can, as Jushan said, you can say scale, so you can say how many, say, is that half of the original size or a quarter, etc. There's many different things.
Could you show them the graphics documentation?
Okay. What will be the best way? Latex.
Can't you get it from overleaf?
Ah, that's a good idea. But no, I don't know. It's only to. Nope. But then, yeah, this is gonna be quite long.
There it is. Go to
The-
graphics in there.
Yeah. This is gonna be a little bit long. There's a lot of things it's gonna talk. Mm. Okay, and so if you really want to know, for example, every single details about how to use a particular package, first thing, just probably Google it. In this case, I Googled latex, followed by the package name, the graphics. And what it usually goes to is go to this C10. How do you say it?
C10.
Yeah. So that's kind of like a website where people can submit their latex packages. And this is, I find a page for the graphics package. And usually this comes with guide. And this was a PDF, look something like this, probably created using latex itself, and give you actual absolute details about everything you need to know about packages. This is about 16 pages. Yeah.
Except you asked about graphics with an X, and it's showing about graphics with an S. So
Is
I
it?
think you should go back and ask what's going on.
This is an X.
This package builds on the graphics picture, blah, 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 blah. The interface provides facilities that goes far beyond what the graphics package can do.
Is a document about the S. Ah, yeah, that's interesting.
There you go.
Mm.
I think you should ask overleaf.
But even for C10, they think this is a. Okay, we're gonna get back there now. Yes, we done the. We haven't done the chapters yet.
Don't do chapters. Don't do chapters.
Okay. We're gonna skip the caption labels and reference for now. We're gonna come back to the reference. Okay. The list may be useful. The way to do it, you have a few types of lists, three main types, and you have this called itemized list, which is essentially just bullet point. So like this one you're seeing here, and you have ordered list, which is called enumerate, which will give you numbers. And the thing you need to remember is when you type in each of these items, you don't have to include the bullet point or the number. It will be automatically generated by the latex. Okay, and I didn't introduce the third one. And so if we go back to our, so let's say I want to add a list, I'll have to type begin. And in this case, I want to do, say, bullet point. So I need to use something called itemize. It's maybe not the easiest name to remember, but then it will automatically generate. So you have this begin and end. Let's mark the where the list would be, and each list starts with an item. So this is item 1 and item 2, item, sorry. Okay, and so that's will display it, something look like this on this side. Okay, and so if you want to change to say number the list, and all you need to do is changing from itemize to something called enumerate. Being a bit lazy. And so you can see, so now I changed from itemize to enumerate, and the actual items is the same. And if I save, it will compile, and it will show to 1, 2, 3 instead. Yeah. And there's description or some other types, but I don't think we need to get into too much details now. Okay, this is probably the more interesting part about latex, is about adding math or formulas, equations to a document. And so you need to remember there are two basic modes. One mode is say inline mode, which you want to put the text as a math formula as part of the text. For example, you have this equation here, and E equal to mc squared, and this is how you do it. So the first thing you need to remember is this, the dollar sign indicates, okay, whatever inside is a formula. So to try to interpret as math formula instead of as text. So E equal to MC, that's exactly just English. And this, I don't know, how do you say this symbol in English? That means superscription. That means makes whatever follows displayed smaller but up. That's all it does.
Caret.
Sorry?
It's actually called a caret. C-R-E-T.
Oh, okay. Caret. Okay. Oops.
C-A-R-E-T.
Yeah. So we can create a, let's say, this is my first equation. Dollar sign E equal to MC. In this case, cubic. Yay. Is there any way to make this side a bit bigger? Okay, and you can see I create a very simple one here. So it does this E equal to MC this one and sorry. So you can see this is going to display here, and in a way much better than say what you'll see in say Microsoft Word we'll be able to do. Why we get back to here now?
You're on the wrong tab.
Maybe, yeah. I had another one. No?
No, you're at the right tab.
Okay, and you can do way more complex things than that. Okay, so if you look at the other thing I forgot to mention is, so that's the inline mode, and you sometimes also want to the formula itself just a separate line rather than inline mode, and I used to use double dollar sign, and which I was told now is not the good thing to do. Okay. So you can see I now put the same formula, but instead of single dollar sign, I have $2 at both ends. And if I save, it will put it at a separate line. Okay. But I was told that's not the best thing to do. It wants you to do this.
Who told you that?
The latex tutorial.
I don't believe a word of it.
Okay, so you can do the same exact thing with this slash square bracket. It does more or less the same thing. That's the recommended way to do it.
It's called display mode. They talk about it as display mode.
Okay, and then so the next thing is just to show you can do quite complex things with, for example, this is one equation. We know it's equation because it starts with this slash square and end with slash square bracket. Okay, I'm not gonna go into too much details exactly what is happening, but you can see it does a T, which is this T here, and this caret, which means whatever this follows in the curly bracket will be displayed as a superscription. So that's why you have I1, I2, IP here as superscription. Okay. And then, and this underlying subscription, etc., etc. So this will, there's lots of different things you can do, and don't really have time to explain how to do this. But essentially, you can specify a formula using this kind of specific way, latex way, and it will display very nicely. For example, like this or like this. Yeah, and again, so if you want to know exactly how to do it, I think there's some links here. Tells you okay what are the common things you can do, or different. There's a bit more, and I think it also has a list of this one. So it has a list of say Greek symbols which you can often use in your formula. They have special names. For example, if you want alpha, you use slash alpha, and it will understand and display that there. So if I do it here, okay, so this is my famous formula is EMC squared plus alpha. And so can you see, so that's what that's there. So this bit slash alpha will be displayed as a Greek letter. Okay, is that okay so far? Oh. Did I miss? Oh, no. Okay, now actually talk about different part of the documents you might come to. So first you can have abstract. Most of the paper would require you, and you would just say begin abstract, and then end abstract. Everything in between will be interpreted or displayed as abstract. depends on the format of the document. So here, if we type something before the introduction, we'll say and you would see, okay, abstract displayed and the line of text. And the formatting actually will be decided by the particularly and template of you choose for a document. In this case, it's using the article formatting to whatever is defined there, how the abstract is displayed. Okay, yeah, chapters.
Don't
Like-
do chapters.
Don't do chapters, okay.
Do
And
figures is much more important.
so I think we're doing okay. So for example, and at least you would have sections in your paper, and you just say section followed by section name, which we already have. We have the first section is called introduction. Then that's what we have here. And before the end document, maybe the second section, we're gonna go say no. It's usually called so we can have a second section and called related work and goes on. Okay, and then you can have subsections. That means the sections inside each section. So it will. So you just type in subsection. Related work in sub. Okay, so that's what you get. The last line. So it's also like numbering. It will make it a bit smaller, and whether it's bold or not, again, this depends. And similarly, you can have subsections. So there actually is a command. The command is just called okay. I guess, and generally it's recommended don't go too much deeper. And okay, you can also have section with a star sign at the end. So that just tell latex say I don't want any numbers. So here you have say 2.1 and 2.1.1. And if you use a star sign, for example, add to the, for example, the last one, and it should remove the numbers before that. So it is. Okay, so this is the hierarchy. So the top level is called a part, where you write a book, and then chapters, sections, subsection, subsection, and then slash paragraph. So this is a different from say a paragraph you would have in the latex, which is just say start by a line break, and it just say a lower level. So you have like a 2.1.1.1. That's the fourth level, and subparagraph. You probably should avoid using paragraph or subparagraph in your paper. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna skip the table. Table part is not very easy and not very easy to use in latex. I'm gonna skip that part.
We'll do it on Friday.
Sorry? Yeah. Okay. And so add a table of contents, and it's actually something very straightforward to do. And if you define different sections, subsections in a document, so all you need to do is just add a command called table of contents, and then it will automatically create the table of contents for you, which looks like these. And we can do that in our document as well because we had all the sections. So just typing
But you need it
and
in the preamble.
sorry?
In the preamble before the begin document.
No, I thought it was after.
You're right. I'm right. So
Let's see. It might work, might not. And you just need that line, and it automatically generates these for you, contents and.
So it puts them where you put the command. You put the command at the end of your document, you get the table of contents at the end.
Yeah, we can do. It's a bit weird, but we can give it a go. So now just add that at the end of my document. So we got the table of contents at the very end. And okay, so yeah, so that's the basic things you will need for a latex document. So you know how to set the titles, authors. You'll be able to add the abstracts and different sections, and also we covered including pictures and math formulas. I think these are the most common ones you're gonna came across, and also say formatting, italic, and then maybe the list of the items. That's probably the most common things you will need, and in writing a paper. Yeah. Any question before we move on to the next part? Yeah. So we covered all these. Okay. So the how do I say? Adding references or bibliography in LaTeX is actually again not so straightforward. Of course, I mean, it's adding references is never quite straightforward. Even in Microsoft Word, you have to get the correct information formatted correctly, and at the end, and then in the middle of the text. Okay, so it has a separate tutorial on this. Okay, again, this is something quite new. It used the latest latex reference format called bib latex. The ones I learned when I was doing PhD is called bib text, and there's even older ones. But I was told this is the latest one. I should use this. Okay. And it says do some advantages. I did a little bit of research. Okay, so what do you need to do? The first, use this line. Use package bib latex. So just add other things. We want to use something. You use the package first, and then this add bib resource is a command provided by the latex, and this is a file. Okay, that's important, man. That's a file which includes all your references. So this is like a text file. You save it with a .bib. Okay, and then the way that it does it is say when you need to cite the papers at the beginning. Say in the main text, you use the cite command, and followed by the ID of each paper or publication, which is going to come back to this a little bit later. Just let's imagine, so this is the ID for a paper, and you can cite it, and you can cite again a different paper, and finally you do this called print bibliography. Again, it's a predefined command. What it does, it will print this part, so it has the reference section title and all the papers, and you include it in your citations. That's the rough idea. And so you use a package, add your own list of papers, you cite your papers, you cite command, and finally display the bibliography, use print bibliography command. Okay, gonna look at this in more details. Okay, so first part, when you using the bibtext package, when you say use package and bibtext, and you can add some optional settings, and you can set backhand as bibber. I think that's how you say it. That's one of the program that process or generate the reference for you. So the bibber is the latest one, which is designed to be used with bib latex. And you can set the style. So you know different, say, papers might require different citing styles. Could be just numbers, like IEEE would say just citing 1, 2, 3, 4, or someone will be the author year or different way of showing the author year. So this is what the style set. And finally, you can set the way these bibliography are sorted when they're displayed. So I assume this is sorted by time. No. Let me see. They should have examples. Okay. So this is what the bib file look like, and this is when you say this and add bib resource, and you say this is my bib file. The important thing is extension has to be called .bib, and you can, whatever the name before, you can create and name yourself or decide yourself. So this is what it looks like, and each of these is one paper in your collection, and then it has information about author, titles, etc., journals. Okay, and the part you need to know is this part sets the type of the document. So the article means it's an article from journal, and that means a book. And if it's conference paper, it will say in book or in proceedings. And then this is the part which you cite in the document. If you remember, in our document, we actually said cite Einstein. And the Einstein is what said here. And no, it's known as that.
But the most important thing with big tech references is you don't write them, you steal them.
Yes, exactly. We'll get next slides come to that one. Yeah. And so the Einstein here could be anything. It could be some numbers or whatever you want to call it. You can manually change to set names, but that's how you cite it. Does that make sense so far? So just for the practice purpose, let's say I'm gonna copy these, and in my local computer, I will, and what will be the text?
So
Has someone left the ID in it? No.
I don't see any ID card. No.
No.
No. I think it's called text edit. Yeah. New document. Oh, I need to format. Plain text. Okay, so basically I copied these ones and I saved as a latex file, a bib file, and I'll call that and say demo.bib and save. Okay, now the file is saved, and then I can upload that to, not this button. I can upload the files to my project, and once I find the file, it still adds a,
don't use text edit.
Okay, and now I have the demo.bib file. You can actually see an overleaf actually can read the content of the file. And then if I go to my main text, so what I need to do, main text file, latex file. So first I need to, where did it go? And use the package. Okay, it goes back. That's the wrong one. So I need to use package bib latex. So that use the package for the reference. You don't have to format this particular way. Really important to just say use the package. Let's say we'll just use this. And then you add your the reference file. So you do here. Oh, right after, that's interesting. Okay, so you use the command add bib resource, and in this case, our file is called demo. So we're going to just call it demo.bib. And then we started citing that in the paper. So wherever you want to cite it, followed by the name. So let's say this is an abstract. Okay, let's say cite. Probably, yeah, Einstein. So that's the other thing, it can recognize those files, and you can, let's cite something else as well. This is another citation. Ah.
You have to say print bibliography.
That's exactly right. But again, so that's really small here, but you can see we having this one. This is my first equation. I probably should have put it here. So that's the 2 and the 1 generated the citation, and you can change that to different formats by changing the settings here when you set the user package. And finally, we use this line, print bibliography, because currently it doesn't have the bibliography at the end yet, only have our lovely comments. Okay, so now it's print out the references generated for this one. Yeah. I think that's all we really want to cover. Okay, so the most important thing, as Richard said, is don't create these files yourself. You can get it online, lots of places. For example, where's my slides? Okay, so do you all know, say, like ACM Digital Library? So it's like, say, an online library created by ACM, which is an association mostly related to the computer science related research. So, and it will actually provide you with the latex, the bibtex format data you need. Basically, it will be able to give you this kind of information for each papers you're looking for. And so if we go to, say, ACM Digital Library, it didn't change much. Okay, let's pick any papers there.
Who is it, the export format?
Okay. Yeah. And for example, maybe let me pick a paper first. This is the general. So that's probably the paper. It has PDFs or the other informations. And if you want to get the big text format, all you need to do is just here. It's a bit small, but on this side, you can see there's export format, and there's some ref format, and choose bib text, and then it will give you this information. And all you need to do is just copy paste this to your own bib text file, .bib file. So now I can copy this one and go to my project here. I select my bib text file, and then I'll add it in my collection. That's all it is. So, and you save. As we said, this part is like the ID of the paper, which you can change yourself. Or in this case, I just do something I can remember easily. I call this paper new paper 1, so that I can use it to cite in my own document. Yeah. This is the new paper 1. Okay, so I said this is the first related work, and I cited new paper 1, which is the ID I gave to my paper. I just copied over, and if I save now, so you can, it's very small here. I don't know how to make this size bigger. Then you can see it will say this is the first, and it will say this is the first related work. Now that's work number 3. And if you look a little bit below, and you can see that's all the information from the paper formatted for you, which using whatever format you specified. You don't have to change anything. Yeah, that's the general workflow if you want to add reference. So usually the way, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or also year, and what information is included in the actual display of the details of the paper, will all done by the latex template, which will decide for you. So you don't have to actually manually edit anything. Yeah. So in terms of finding this bib text format of papers, if you know the title of the paper, most likely if you just Google bib text followed by, say, the paper title, it will give you the page where you can copy paste. And the other thing I would recommend is using software like a Mendeley or Zotero. Did anyone heard of these before? Yeah, so these are the ones which allows you kind of create your own collections of papers. If you're doing PhD, you have a field, these are related to work, you can use this. And
on the Mac, you can use BibDisk.
yeah. But this one is slightly more generic in a sense. It can export those collections of papers later on to different formats, including bibtext. And so this is what Mendeley looks like. Yeah. Hmm? Oh, has nothing. Or is that? Oops. Okay, yeah. So just usually a good way to help you to organize your document. This one does not. Yeah, this is some other papers I read a long time ago. And these will mostly of them will allow you to export into bibtext format, and also, for example, Mendeley or Zotero, they have something called Chrome extensions. That means once you install it and you go to, say, a page, which is essentially a paper, it will allow you to automatically import into your collection. Let me see if I have that installed here. Okay, so this is quite small, and but there's this button which is like the Chrome extension from Mendeley, and now it's colored. That means it recognizes this is the paper, and if you click that, and once you logged in, which we'll do in a second, and it will scan the page and find all the papers. Now it finds it and automatically add to your collection, which I showed you here. Or is it still adding? I think. But anyway, uh, so the easiest thing to do is just click bib text, which allows you to generate the bib text file, which you just copy paste to the bib file. And using Mendeley or Zotero or not is a little bit beyond. It's not part of latex. It's just some reference management software. If you're doing research, it's usually useful to use. Okay, now comes to the last part. Okay, wow, managed to finish. So if you actually say doing research, a PhD, for example, most likely you're gonna want to submit a work to a conference or journal, and they could provide you with something called a template. And in most cases, your job is actually to kind of use that template to format your paper before submit. Okay, and the first thing is saying a template is nothing special. It's just a latex file. That's all. But actually, it's actually when you usually is get a zip file from the conference or journal, it will have .text file, which is a main latex file, together with some style files, and you have to include together that defines special formatting for that particular conference or journal. But the template itself is really just a latex file, nothing special about it. Okay, and then your job then just becomes replacing the template. For example, the template will give you, say, the authors and with some default values in it, just replace that with actual authors or the titles with your own actual ones. Okay. So, and first is, and actually overleaf supports template from lots of different conferences and journals already. And so if we go back to overleaf and we say create a new project, and we can say these are different templates. They say academic journal, and these are the different ones. There should be a place you can search. Hmm. Okay. And does anyone knows a particular journal or conference you have in mind? Knows latex? Okay, give me a name of any conference or like the most important conference or journal in your field. But that's not a conference. That's a. We can try IEEE. We can search. Then to find all the IEEE existing templates. For example, the first one says IEEE conference on image processing. Maybe not anyone, but if you click that, and you can say open as a template, then it will create a new project using that template for that particular conference. So the next time, if you're going to write something, you can first search to see if you can find one, and then this is what the template is going to look like. So this is old style now. It includes the template file, which we'll call template.tex, which you can rename. But this is a latex file, just as we have created so far. The useful thing is here, the spconf.sty. That's the file defines the styles for that paper. And then this IEEE bib.bst, that's the file defines the formatting for the reference. So those are the two key files. And the other things, .eps files, these are the pictures. So you can see there will be some pictures here in the paper. And there's this .bib file, which is a reference file. We created one ourselves. They include the one in the template, so you can show some reference they look like. So this is something you probably want to replace with your own bib file. Yeah, they have two, and that's the created the file itself. That's really it. And then your job will be actually go through the template, the latex file, and try to replace it with the ones that you want. Okay, it will say document class article. It didn't use its own. Usually it will. And for example, you want to replace the title with your actual title for your paper. And this is how they do the authors. So for example, you have /name, so which is probably a new command defined by their own package. And then you have to just follow the way it defines. And begin document, make title, begin abstract. We've seen this all before. Okay, so keywords is something maybe new for this particular one. And you start your first sections, etc. That's really is. So all you need to do is say you replace, let's say, the keyword to your actual keyword you want, replace the text of your abstract, and again write your different sections with different titles. That's all you need to do. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all I want to cover in this tutorial. I think now you should roughly know how to create a new latex document from empty, or you can use a template and then change the part to fit that to your content. Any question?
Always use a template. Always, always, always. Because then you don't have to ask, how do I do that? You just copy.
Yes, and
if you can't get a template, if someone wants to produce a latex document, say, send me a template.
Oh, okay.
Steal.
Yeah. Also, so there's these two buttons, quite useful. In the latex, these two arrows. So the first arrows goes to the part of the PDF of your latex code. So so currently I'm on this side, I want to go to this paragraph in my code, in my PDF, and you click this button. It will show you, okay, that is the part. And that goes the other way. So if you look at a particular page, you want to know where they are in the latex code, and you press this button, and this part will move to where you select in the PDF. That will be useful. And as Richard just mentioned, just really copy whatever is. And so let me see if I can click on this. Okay, and this is how you do a more complex figure. And if you look at this picture, it's actually just one figure included with 3 sub-figures. Okay, if you want to know how that was done, just look at the code and it will show you, okay, this is the part. So you begin figure, which gives you the entire figure, and it uses mini page, which actually I don't know how that is, but obviously each mini page is one of the sub-figures. And again, you just change to your pointing to your fig files if that's what you want. Okay. I think it has one last slide. Yeah. So I give you a link there, which goes to the general documentation on overleaf. So it gives, and it has the guide, we just look at, learn latex in 30 minutes. But also there's many other things about overleaf, how to use it, and lots of other things about how to use latex in general, regardless of overleaf. That's quite useful. And Richard's going to introduce a different book. Or is it already here? He has it. Yeah.
Get hold of one or both of these 2 books.
These are like the classics.
Lamport on latex. The LA in Lamport is in latex is Lamport, and the TEX is pronounced tech, not tex. If you say tex, You reveal yourself to be an ignorant person.
You can have a look. I'm sure. Like
This is
yeah.
the LaTeX Companion. There's a new edition of this. These books are expensive, so borrow them. Get them from your supervisor. Get them from the library. The LaTeX Companion.
Or even to buy a used one. I'm sure there's lots of used
In
ones.
the back here is the index. Look at the size of the index. Nobody knows all this stuff. Nobody. I've been writing LaTeX for 15 years. I have this by my keyboard all the time.
Yep.
Right? Third thing you need to know is the following web address: tech.stackexchange.com. Yeah?
Okay, so
Or just the word Stack Exchange. You say, how do I do figures in LaTeX? Stack Exchange. And Google will find it for you.
yeah, and so
Fourth thing you need to know is the following words: ch8.pdf. It stands for Chapter 8. In this book, Chapter 8 says how to set mathematics, but it's out of date. ch8.pdf, which is online, is how to set mathematics. Millions of things. A line, goodness knows what. Millions of things about how to do equations and stuff. Right, and the fifth thing is symbols A4. List of LaTeX symbols. What is that funny symbol? And you can find the funny symbol by looking on symbols A4. And the sixth thing is talk to the person next to you. You've all been quiet, except you said one thing. You said one thing, right? Quiet is the death, right? Talk to the person next to you. Last of all, because they're probably the least helpful, talk to your supervisor. If your supervisor wants you to do things in LaTeX, say why. When they tell you why, ask them for help. Nobody knows all of LaTeX. Nobody, not even Lamport. I bet you Lamport uses this book. Right. CTAN is a tremendous input, but those package descriptions are long. This is better than CTAN. This book is for beginners, which is you. Probably copies of this in the library. Get hold of one. This book is for advanced people, which is you in about 2 weeks' time. Right? If somebody on the next desk has got it, borrow it. Look at it. How do I? What's this? What does /big circle mean? How do I do? What's notes? How does notes work? Overbrace. What's that? There's like 12 billion things with LaTeX.
And okay, so as there's one more resource, and there's something called Middlesex Latex User Group, which actually is created by Ian Mitchell, who is not here. You might know him. And so it actually lives on Moodle, or most of you know like My Learning. And it looks like this. And so this is what, when I go to my Learning page, because I'm already added it there, so you can see this is like a module or something, and called the Middlesex Latex User Group. And then here is inside was what the tutorial Ian Mitchell prepared when he teaches LaTeX. So probably more in depth about than what we covered today, because they have like quite a few
Tables
weeks.
Is good. Tables.
Yeah.
How to do tables? We need that.
Yeah, so that's the LaTeX file, and you can have a look at how it does do tables. Obviously, it's created as use LaTeX as well. Actually, Ian does his module handbook use LaTeX, but didn't use for the template. But yeah, okay. So, if you are interested, and you can email me. Do you have my email address or? Okay. And you can either email me or email Ian Richard, We can then add you to the group if you're interested.
Am I in the group?
We can add you now, actually.
Is there a pen? Is there a pen for the board? Any pens for the board? No? Nobody can see any pen? Okay.
What do you want to write? We can.
Just want to write some words on the board.
Oh, okay. Or we can write on my computer. I'll give you a text
No,
file.
so that people can copy them.
So.
Things like CH8 and stuff like that.
Okay. Chapter 8. No, you can do that on Friday. Or.
All right.
But I assume you all registered for online. Did you register online? No. Okay, so it just come
It's
online.
not happening online.
But how many of you don't know my email address? Okay, so you don't know. This is what will be there? Okay, so that's my email address. If you need to say add to the group, so I'll try to. Yeah, actually, if you want to get a copy of the slides I made today, email me as well because some of you didn't go through the online registration.
Can I ask, why are you learning latex?